computer. I put on YouTube. Good evening, everyone. It's glad to see everyone this evening. Well, I don't see you because there's no video on, but glad to hear you. But several people asked about system of equations and how to solve the different types of system of equation. Some people asked about substitution and evaluation in a linear equation. And then Shannon asked about linear equation and a word problem. So let's look at some of those right now. Let me go open up a blank sheet. And first of all, let me put up a linear equation, first of all. And let's see if, so we got minus, or system of equations, minus 2y equal minus 12, 4x plus 8y equal minus 24. Solve. A is 1 and 4. B is 6 and 6. C is minus 2. Oops. And minus 2. There's supposed to be brackets. I apologize. And D is 1, minus 1 and 4. The reason why they're not parentheses, if they were parentheses, then you would think about it's a ordered pair. So you could think of it that way. If it was a parentheses, it'd be X and a Y. So you could think of it as as parentheses for X and Y. So matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll put them as parentheses. So that way it make it easy to understand. When that's a 4, 6 and minus 6. Look, I'm making mistakes. Minus 2 and minus 2. And then minus 1 and 4. The reason why they're in parentheses, because you have an X and a Y, and that point will solve both of those equations. So that's what you're looking for in a system of equations. If it's two linear equations in a graph, you're looking for the point where both of those equations intersect, and that will be the solution to your system of equations. But say, for example, we had a problem like this on the GED, and it said it gave us a system of equations. It gave us minus 4x minus 2y equal negative 12, and 4x plus 8y equal negative 24. And it had a multiple choice options of 1 and 4, 6 and minus 6, minus 2 and minus 2, and negative 1 and 4. Can anyone tell me how they would solve this problem? Can anyone tell me how they would solve this problem?
Can we do it like store 1 and then make that an X, and then we go to store the 4 as a Y, and then we put in 4x minus 2y equals negative 12. And see what we come out with.
Okay, that's how you solve it using the calculator. We'll get to that next.
Oh,
so how do you solve this algebraically? How would you solve this algebraically?
Okay.
But you are right, though. That's an easy way to be able to solve this, and I will show you that in a minute since you brought it up. But how will we solve this algebraically?
The 4's cross out each other.
Right. So the first thing you notice, remember, when you're trying to solve a system of equations, what you want to remember is that you want to only have one variable. So you need to get rid of one variable. In our case, so one thing about the GED is this is what they'll do. They'll either have one of the variables, they'll be the same in both equations. The coefficients will be the same, and I'll show you an example. In this case, they're opposites. So right away, you see minus 4x and 4x. You should know they are opposites of each other, and they will immediately cancel each other out. So for example, minus 4x minus 2y equal negative 12. And then we got 4x plus 8y equal negative 24. So what Earl was saying was, what you should notice is right away that these two terms will cancel each other out because they're opposites of each other. We don't have to do anything. So in this case, since they cancel each other out, we're going to combine both equations. So 8y minus 2y, what's 8 minus 2?
6.
6, so we got 6y equal, and then what's negative 12 minus 24?
36,
What kind of 36? Negative 36. In order to solve for y, what do we need to do?
We need to cancel, we need to divide.
Divide by what?
6. By
6. So we notice the 6's cancel here. We get y equal. Now, a negative 36 divided by a positive 6, we know our answer is going to be negative
6.
And then 36 divided by 6 is 6. So we know y is negative 6. So as we look down these multiple choice, which option is the only one that has a y for negative 6?
B.
B. So we don't even have to solve for the other variable. We only have to solve for x. Normally, when you're solving a system of equations, you have to solve for x and y. But when you're given a multiple choice, especially in this case, since we only have one option that has negative 6 for y, we are done. Everybody understand that? All right, now, if we were solving this, we would have to plug this variable back into one of the equations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it into the second equation. So 4x. So T, you asked about evaluation of substitution. Well, substitution is a very important concept on the GED. All you're doing is substituting that variable for that value. So everywhere we see y, we're going to put a negative 6. So 4x plus 8 times y is negative 6, equal negative 24. That's all you're doing when you're substituting. Okay, so then we're going to simplify 4x minus 48 equal negative 24. In order to get, this is a simple two-step algebraic equation. So if we have 4x minus 48 equal negative 24, what term do we want to get rid of first?
48, negative 48.
The negative 48. What's the opposite of negative 48?
Addition, 48.
So we're going to add 48 to both sides. We're going to combine the equations. We get 4x. The 48's cancel. We bring down our equal. 48 minus 24 is 24. And then again, to solve this, a one-step algebraic equation. In order to solve for x, we have to do what? Get x by itself.
Divide by 4.
Divide both sides by 4. And we get x is equal to 6. So x is equal to 6, y is negative 6. So we still got the same answer. I just wanted to show you if you had to solve for both variables, okay? Because sometimes they'll give you the multiple choice where y would have been negative 6 for 2 of the options. So then you have to substitute back into one of the equations to get x. Now, Earl also said, because he was, I guess he's been doing the eBook, is that what you can do is by having a multiple choice answers, they're giving you the possibilities. They're giving you all the possibilities. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug those numbers in. Okay, so remember, when you have parentheses, this is a x. Oops, let me change my color so we can see the difference. This is x, comma, y. So it means for multiple choice A, x is what?
1.
1, and y is what?
4.
So what we want to do is we want to grab our calculator. Let me clear everything out and make this a little bit smaller so we can see it. And we're going to first store x is 1. So we're going to do 1 store x, and we're going to do 4 as y, 4 store y. Okay, if you don't know how to store your variables, make sure you go through the ebook in that section. Make sure you know how to do it. Now, since we already have x and y stored, now we can put both of those equations in and see if we get minus 12 and minus 24. So we're going to put minus 4x. Because it starts with a negative, we're going to use the negative next to enter. 4x minus 2y. And let's see if we get negative 12. If we get negative 12, we know this combination of x and y works for the first equation. So we hit enter, we get negative 12. So we know 1 is a possible solution, but it's a solution. 1 and 4 is a solution for the first equation. But now we have to check the second equation. 4x plus 8y. We plug it in, we should get a negative 24. We do not. Therefore, A is no longer an option. And we repeat that for the remaining multiple choice. So if you know how to store numbers, it should be fairly easy. It's 6 store X and then minus 6 store Y. Oops, minus 6 store Y. And then we, again, since we already had those expressions typed into our calculator, instead of typing them over, I'm just gonna hit my up arrow until I get to my first expression, minus 4x minus 2y. And let's see if I get negative 12. Yes, I do. So I know this x and y works for the second equation. Now let's plug it into our second equation, 4x plus 8y. Again, I don't have to type it back in. I go back up into my second expression. I press enter, second equation, press enter. Let's see if I get negative 24. I do. That is the easiest way to solve a system of equations for GED if they give you the answers. Okay, you can store them in and then you can substitute each of those values in. Okay, so that's one way you can solve this system of equations. You can either do it manually. Now, I would suggest learning how to solve a system of equations manually, and then learn how to use your calculator to the best of its ability. So let's work on a couple to make sure we understand. So I want to give some examples. I actually had this prepared to do last week. Let me find it first. System of equations, there we go. That's some word problems. Let's find one where they are the same. Let me see if I can find one where they are the same. Okay. So as we're looking at number 5, this is a system of equations. Okay. So the first one, if you notice, they're both in standard form. Now, what is our first goal when we have a system of equations? What are we trying to do?
We're trying to cancel something out.
What are we trying to cancel out? One of the what? What's the proper name?
One of the variables.
One of the variables. So what you should get in the habit of in the GED, I'm telling you, for system of equations, they either gonna have a word problem, and if they have a word problem, you're gonna plug the answers in to get your answer. Or they're gonna give you a system of equations where either they're the same or they're opposite. But I'm gonna show you how to do all of them. So here, you should quickly see that you have 8y in both the equations. So what's the opposite of 8y?
Minus 8y.
Minus 8y. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this entire equation by minus 1. Why? Because if we multiply everything in that first equation by a negative, what we're in fact doing, and this is what you should know, that anytime a negative is outside parentheses, it changes the sign of everything inside the parentheses, or in this case, inside the brackets. So the opposite of x is minus x. The opposite of 8y is minus 8y. The opposite of negative 15 is positive 15. Nothing to do. Once you see that you have the same term in both equations, one of the equations you're going to multiply by negative 1. Basically, all you're doing is changing the sign of everything in that first equation. Now, the second equation just we're going to bring over 7x plus 8y equal minus 9. So the first thing is that we multiply by negative 1, or change the sign of everything in the first equation. Now we want to combine the equations. What's 7x minus x?
6x.
6x. If you didn't realize, if you don't see a coefficient, it's a 1. So 7 minus 1 is 6. That's where we got the 6x from. The two 8y's cancel each other out. We bring down our equal. And then 15 minus 9 is what?
Positive 6.
Positive 6. In order to solve for x, how are we going to get x by itself?
We divide by 6.
Divide both sides by 6. We get x is equal to, what's 6 divided by 6?
1.
Okay, we are not done. Because remember, to solve a system of equations, you need an x and a y. But now we can plug this value in to whatever equation we want. It does not matter which equation you plug this into. So I'm going to plug into the first one. So I'm going to change my color to blue. My first equation was x plus 8y equal negative 15. Matter of fact, I'm going to plug it into both of them so we'll actually see that they both work. Okay, x is 1. So instead of x, I'm going to put 1. So 7 times 1 plus 8y equal minus 9. 1 plus 8y equal negative 15. Okay, so we're going to simplify. 7 times 1 is what?
7.
7. In order to get y by itself, what term should we get rid of first?
It's the 7.
And what's the opposite of positive 7?
Negative 7.
So we're going to subtract 7. Let me change my color back to red. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides. The 7's cancel. We get 8y is equal to negative 16. Again, this is a simple one-step algebraic equation. To get y by itself, we need to divide by what?
8.
Now, I'm wondering here, because this seems like a one-on-one tutoring session, because Earl's the only one answering. So you telling me nobody else here in this session?
I gotta shut up. Maybe I'm too fast, Mr. Tinsley.
I don't know. So let's sit back and let some other people answer tonight. Let's make sure everybody understands it. So 8y equal minus 16. On to get y by itself, what do we need to do?
Divide by 8.
Divide both sides by 8. The 8's cancel. We get y is equal to negative 2. Now, again, the reason why I'm showing you this, because it doesn't matter what equation you use. Okay, so now I got my second equation. I got 1 plus 8y equal negative 15. In order to get the y by itself, what term should I get rid of first?
$8y.
Not the 8y. That's, remember, if you're trying to solve for y, you don't want to get rid of 8y, right? So when you look at an equation, if you're trying to get a variable by itself, you're looking at the other term that does not contain the variable. So we have 1 and we have 8y. Which term do we want to get rid of first?
They're connected, so you got to get rid of one of them.
Which one? 1 or the 8y? The 1. Because remember, when you're so if you're having problem solving a two-step algebraic equation, you need to make sure you jump on the Khan Academy, CK12, Schoology, and make sure you know how to do one-step and two-step equations. This should be fairly easy for everyone here. You should know right away, I got to subtract 1 from both sides. If you did not know, you had trouble, that means you need to practice on one-step and two-step equations. Most of this test is algebra. If you can't do a one-step, two-step equation, you're going to be in trouble. Okay, so we subtract 1 from both sides, we get 8y equal, and negative 15 minus 1 is what? Okay, what's minus 15 minus 1?
Negative 16.
Negative 16.
Negative 16. In order to get y by itself, we need to divide both sides by what? 8. 8. The 2 8's cancel. Again, y equal negative 2. So it doesn't matter what equation we use, we still got negative 2 as y. So the point that will satisfy both of these equations will be 1 comma minus 2, because x is 1, y is negative 2. Each ordered pair must look like this. On the GED, they might ask you what x is, they might ask you what y is, or they might ask you for the solution to the system of equations where they want x and y. You have to be prepared for all 3 options. They might ask you just for x, they might ask you just for y, or they might ask you for the point that solves the system of equations. So this is an example where one of the same term exists in both equations. So let's look at another one where you may have to multiply right here. Let's do this one. And again, system of equations may be 1 or 2 problems. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on system of equations, but you should know how to solve it. Okay, so 6x plus 2y equal minus 6, 7x plus 4y equal, what? What? Mr. Tinsley said they're going to be, well, not all the time. Okay, so again, your first step is you want to get rid of one of the variables. So when you look at 6 and 7x, listen, I don't know what number I got to multiply 6 and 7 to get rid of them. What I do know is the opposite of 4 is what? What's the opposite of positive 4?
-4.
Negative 4. So if I want this term here to be -4, I would have to multiply it by what number? What number times 2 would give me -4?
-2.
-2. So I'm going to multiply this first equation by -2. So what's -2 times 6? What's -12? -12. What's -2 times a positive 2?
-4.
-4. We bring the variable along with us. Then we're going to bring down our equal. And what is -2 times a -6?
12.
12. Okay. So remember, you want to look at both equations. Your goal is to eliminate one of the variables. So it's no set way that you're going to do every simple system of equations problem. You have to look at them differently and say, which one do I want to get rid of? Here, I said, okay, well, I know the opposite of 4 is -4. I know 2 goes evenly into 4, so I can multiply that first equation by -2. I'm going to bring this equation down. I'm not going to change this at all. 7x plus 4y equal 8. So when we combine these two equations, what's -12 plus 7? What's -12 plus 7?
Is it -19?
-12 plus 7.
Oh, -12 plus 7.
Five.
What kind of 5?
A negative.
-5. So if you're not sure, if you have problems with sign numbers, what you should know is, since they both have x's, they are like terms. So in your calculator, you put -12 plus 7 or 7 minus 12. That way you won't make that mistake with sign numbers. So -5x. What happens to the two 4y's? What happens to them? They do what?
Cancel.
They cancel each other out. We bring down an equal. And what's 12 plus 8?
20.
20. In order to get x by itself, we need to divide both sides by what?
-5.
-5. The two -5's cancel. We get x equal -4, because a positive and a negative make it negative. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now we solve for x. We have x. Are we done with this system of equations? Are we done? No. What must we do
No.
next?
You got to do the bottom. 7x plus 4y equals 8.
What you mean,
Right.
do the bottom? What do we want to do with this x? Once we have x, what do we want to do?
Oh.
Plug in for
Plug
negative.
in it.
We can plug it in. So it doesn't matter what equation you plug it into. You can plug it into the first one, you can plug it into the second one. It does not matter. But for our cases, Nina, since you picked the second one, we will plug it into the second equation. I'm going to change to blue. And all we're going to do is substitution. 7 times -4. So everywhere I see x, I'm going to put -4. So 7x is multiplication. 7x means 7 times x. So since x is -4, 7 times -4. Does everybody understand that? Plus 4y is equal to 8. So all we did was substitute in. We're going to simplify. What is 7 times -4? What is 7 times -4?
28.
-28 plus 4y is equal to 8. In order to get y by itself, what term should we get rid of first? Should we get rid of the -28 or rid of the 4 first to get y by itself? What term do we want to get rid of first?
Is it the -28?
And what's the opposite? How do we get rid of -28? What's the opposite?
Positive.
+28. So we're going to do a +28 on both sides, because whatever we do to one side, we do on the other. The 28 cancels, we get 4y. We bring down the equal, and 28 plus 8 is what?
36.
36. In order to get y by itself, we must divide both sides by what?
4.
4. The two 4's cancel on the left side. We get y is equal to, what's 36 divided by 4?
9.
9. Now, so our solution to this system of equations is a point, and each point is an ordered pair. So x comma y, our x is -4, our y is 9. So if they asked us what x is, we would say -4. If they asked us what y is, we would say 9. If they asked us for the point or the ordered pair that solves this system of equations, it'd be -4 and 9. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the calculator and I'm going to prove it to you. Okay, instead of doing this by hand, we're going to use the calculator to prove it to you. So let me save it. So -4 and 9, I'm gonna clear it. So we got -4 and 9. So our answer was -4 and 9. And I'm gonna grab my calculator, because what we want to do is we want to know how to do it manually, but we also want to know how to use and check our work using the calculator. Okay, so x is what again?
-4.
-4. How do we store x is -4 into a calculator? I forgot that quick.
You get the negative sign next to the enter sign.
Why the negative sign next to the enter? Why shouldn't I use this subtraction sign?
That's a subtraction sign and not a negative sign.
Okay, so if your expression starts with a negative, use the negative sign near enter. So -4 store x. Okay, y is going to be what?
9.
9 store. We got the
Y.
variable button twice. If you notice, that variable will change. So instead of x, we keep hitting that variable button until we see y. This tells us we stored x and y. Now we're going to plug both our equations in, expressions in, to make sure they're satisfied. So 6x plus 2y, we should get -6. 6x plus 2y. We should get -6. Let's press enter. We got -6. So we know that works for the first equation. Let's type in the second equation, 7x plus 4y. We should get 8. When I press enter, we got 8. So we know that solution is correct for this system of equations. So let me maximize this so we can see it nice and clear. And I'll move this up so we can see it. Okay. So now, but what can I tell you? On the GED, a system of equations is considered a difficult problem. They almost always have it as a multiple choice problem. They never ask you to solve for that, for and have a fill in the blank. They almost always have a multiple choice. So if they give you X and Y as a multiple choice, my first suggestion is to plug them in. That would be my first suggestion to you. Well, Mr. Tinsley, what if I get a word problem? What if I get a word problem? Let me see if I can find one that has a multiple choice. I have a bunch of word problems here, but I don't think the GED is going to be this hard. But let's look at a word problem. Let's see if we can figure it out. Okay, let's see if we can figure out a system of equations from number 7. And let's see if we can solve it. Let's do it together. So it says, let me read it to you. The state fair is a popular field trip destination. This year, the senior class at high school A and the senior class at high school B both planned trips there.
Let's see.
The senior class at high school A rented and filled 8 vans and 8 buses with 24 students. High school B rented and filled 4 vans and 1 bus with 54 students. Every van had the same number of students in it as did the buses. Found the number of students in each van and each bus. What? What? I don't even know where to start. Can anybody tell me how they would solve, how they would even start this problem. Because this is the issue. Sometimes with computation, we learn how to do it, but in a word problem, we don't know what to do. So let's try to break this problem down step by step to solve a word problem. How would we start this? Can anybody have any, does anybody have any idea how we would solve number 7? Because to me, this seems like a 10-minute problem. First of all, the first thing I would tell you to do is, if your mind says this is too hard, what should you do?
Take a breath.
No.
Skip it.
Flag it and skip it. Now, if you have no idea, if you do want to guess, it was called an educated guess. But if you have no idea how to do it, you cannot take an educated guess. An educated guess means if you have 4 problems, if you can get rid of 2, then you have a 50% chance to get it right. Okay. But if you have no idea how to do something, skip it, flag it for review, pick an answer, and then skip it. Okay. But let's solve it. How will we start this problem? Can anybody have any idea how to solve this problem?
X plus Y equals 240.
X plus Y equal 240. It might be close. First of all, what does X and Y stand for? What are the variables X and Y? The first thing you must do is identify your variables.
What is 8x and 8y equals
Hold on.
240.
What are your X and what does your Y stand for? What are your variables X and Y?
Students and buses.
Students and buses. I wouldn't say students and buses. Let's look at school A. Let's look at school B. Okay. What do we notice that's similar in both A and B? What did they give us?
Vans and buses.
Say that again.
Vans and buses.
Vans and buses. So what we're going to do is, we're going to call vans and buses. So we're going to call vans X. Oops, I erased the S. And we're going to call Y buses. So if we know vans are X, we know buses are Y. What is going to be our 2 equations? Because we just identified our variables. Who said that X was of vans and buses? Who did say that? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Me.
Okay, so Latasha said X, our variable X is going to stand for our vans, or Y is going to stand for our buses. If you notice in this problem, instead of vans, I put X. Instead of buses, I put Y, right? So our first equation is going to be what?
8x plus 8y equals 240.
Our second equation is going to be what?
4x.
I'm only one here.
1y equals
Do we
54.
need the 1 as a coefficient?
Oh, just x.
Just what?
X.
Just
Y.
what?
Just
I
Y
mean, y. I'm sorry, y.
Just Y
equals 54.
equal 54. So from this incredibly hard problem that looked impossible a second ago, if you understand the steps, identifying your variables or identifying your unknowns, this is what we do. So we identified vans as X, Y is vans, and then we plugged everything in. We now have our 2 equations. So we have 8x plus 8y equal 240. We have 4x plus y equal 54. Okay, so again, when we're solving a system of equations, your first step should be to which variable do I want to get rid of? Do I want to get rid of the x, or do I want to get rid of the y? So let me just go at a round robin. Which variable would you get rid of, Earl?
I would get rid of the 4x.
You get rid of, so you can't get rid of the 4x. You got to get rid of the x's. Okay, so it's not you're trying to get rid of a term, you're trying to remove one of the variables from the equation. Okay, so Latasha, what variable would you try to get rid of? So Earl said the x's. Which one would you want to get rid of?
I will get rid of the 8x and 4x.
The 8x and 4x. Yeah, you want to get rid of the x's too. How about you, Kelly? What variable would you get rid of? The y's. So, Mr. Tinsley, why is Mr. Tinsley asking this question? What variable do you want to get rid of? Do you want to get rid of the x? Some people said x, some people said y. Guess what? It doesn't matter. You can solve this system of equations both ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move everything over, and I'm going to use one set of equations and I'm going to get rid of x. And I'm going to use another set of equations and we're going to get rid of y. It does not matter what variable you get rid of first. What you have to do is look at the coefficients, and that should tell you the easiest one to get rid of. So for me personally, I know 4 can go into 8. So the opposite of plus 8 is what? Minus 8. Correct, Nina. Now, what do I have to multiply this second equation to get that first term to be minus 8x? What would I have to multiply this second equation by for this term to be minus 8x?
2.
What kind of 2?
-2.
-2. It's very important you get those signs right, because -2 times 4 is -8. Okay, remember, we want the opposite, so they cancel each other out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this equation over. So we got 8x plus 8y equal 240. Then I'm going to multiply, I'm going to distribute this -2. What is -2 times 4?
-2 times 4 is -8.
-8. And we're going to bring along our variable, which is x. What is -2 times y?
-2y.
-2y. And then what's -2 times 54?
108.
What kind of 108?
-108.
-108. Okay. We're then going to combine these two equations. I'm going to change the color to blue. What happens to the two terms that contain x? What happens? 8x and minus 8x. What do?
Cancel out.
They cancel each other out. What is 8y minus 2y?
6y.
6y. And what is 240 minus 108?
132.
132. And in order to get y by itself, what must we divide both sides by?
6.
6. On the left, the two 6's cancel. We get y equal, what's 132 divided by 6?
12.
Definitely not 12.
Okay.
If you have to use your calculator, use your calculator.
22.
22.
Okay.
Because 6 goes into 13 twice. We got 1 left over. Bring that 2 down. 6 goes into 12 2 times. So the number is 22. Got 8 vans filled with 22. All right. So we got y is 22. How do we get x?
Plug in the y where everywhere you see y is.
So which equation do we want to plug? Do we want to use the first one or the second one?
It don't make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference. Now, I'm looking at this. 8x plus 8y equal 240, or 4x plus y equal 54. Which one sounds like the better equation to plug my y equal 22 in?
4x plus y equal 54.
Right, that sounds much better. You don't gotta do a whole lot of work. So 4x, y is 22, equal 54. We have a simple two-step equation. What term do we want to get rid of first if we want to solve for x?
22,
We want to get rid of the 22. The opposite of positive 22 is?
negative 22.
So we're going to subtract 22 from both sides. I'm going to have to come down a little bit. So we get 4x equal, what is 54 minus 22?
32.
32. In order to get x by itself, we need to divide both sides by
4.
4. On the left, the 4's canceled. We left with x. What's 32 divided by 4?
8.
8. So there are 8 students on each van, and there are 22 on each bus. Let's check to see if these both work. So x is 8, y is 22. So I'm going to erase some of this. I'm going to save it so you'll be able to see the screenshot, and I'm going to write it down. So x is 8 and 22. And I'm going to erase the rest because, again, I want to use my calculator. 8 and 22. I'm just going to clear everything out. No, I don't want to clear everything out because I want to keep the equation. So let me erase that. Remember, a system of equations, when you solve it, should satisfy both equations. That's what's important about a system of equations. Let me move this over. And let me grab my calculator. So my x is what again?
8.
8. So 8 store x. Oops. And then what's my y?
22.
22 store y. I'm going to plug both equations in. 8x plus 8y. I should get 240. Did I get 240?
Yeah.
So it worked for the first equation. Let's plug in our second equation. 4x plus y. I should get 54. Let's press enter. That's how you solve a system of equations. That was a word problem. Don't get shook by the word problem. But this is what I can tell you, though, and this is very important. Almost all system of equations on the GED will give you multiple choice answers. The easiest way is just to plug the answers in. That's the easiest way. That's the easiest way. So let me see if I can find 2 examples real quick. To help somebody with the Canadian part of the exam, a couple people. Let's see. I don't have it open here. I wish I had one that. Okay, I don't have any ready to go. But if you have multiple choice, let me see if I can find one on the internet real quick. Multiple choice. System of equations. I should have just went to Schoology real quick. See if I can find one. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah, it's a bunch of practice problems all across the internet. Let's see if we can find one. Okay, this is a good one. That's not really a word problem. That's just a computation, but I'll use that one. That's not really a multiple choice either. Okay. I'll show you different ways you might see it. Well, I like this test right here. I gotta grab that one. I'm gonna download that one. All right. So what I'm opening up is, again, a system of equations. Okay. So again, they gave you the multiple choice, but let's look at number 1. what is the solution to the system's graph? What will be the solution? Would it be 2 minus 1, 1 minus 2, minus 1, 2, or minus 2, 1? What multiple choice would solve this graph to the right? What ordered pair will solve this pair or system of equations? So remember, system of equations is just more than one equation. What point would solve both of these equations? How would we know? Where do we look on this graph to know which point satisfies both of these equations? If we look at this graph, what will we look at on this graph to know what is the solution to this system of equations? Can anybody tell me?
We look for that.
Where they intersect.
Where they intersect. So they intersect right here. So what's that point? What is that point? What's my X?
1.
You sure about that?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. And what is my Y?
Look like 2.
2. So let's look back at our answers. So again, where the two lines cross is the solution for a system of equations. So that point was minus 1, 2. Nice, easy multiple choice. Understand what a system of equation is. Understand what the solution is, where both of those lines cross. Okay, so that was one multiple choice. Let's look at another one. Let's look at this one right here. What is the solution set for the system of equations? Y equal 2x minus 1, y equal minus x plus 5. A is minus 2 minus 3, B is minus 3, 2, C is 3, 2, D is 2, 3. If you notice, all the digits are very similar. What's the easiest way to solve this system of equations? Should I graph it? I could graph it, but I don't see a graph. They don't give me a graph. So what's the easiest way to solve this system of equations?
Elimination.
You could use elimination. Okay, so let's do elimination. Now we could. So let me show you. So we got y equal 2x minus 1. And we got y equal minus x plus 5. So my first instinct, if I want to get rid of one of the variables, what's the opposite of y? What's
Adding.
the opposite of y?
Adding. No, so
What's the
minus.
opposite of y?
X.
Okay, let me
Negative
ask you
y.
this.
Negative y.
Negative y. So remember,
Well,
just because it doesn't have a coefficient, it's still the same thing. The opposite of 2x is minus 2x. The opposite of 2y is minus 2y. The opposite of y is minus y. So there's two ways you can do it. You could say both of them have y. So let me get rid of the y first. So let me multiply this entire second equation by negative 1. So I would have y equal 2x minus 1. And then I will have minus y equal, what's the opposite of negative x?
Positive
Yes.
x.
Positive x. And what's the opposite of plus 5?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. What happens to the two y's?
Cancel out.
They cancel out. What's 2x plus x?
3x.
3x. And there's what's minus 1 minus 5?
Minus.
Minus 6. So I don't have a whole lot of room, but what you should see is, in order to solve for x, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And I'm gonna have to move down here, I apologize, but we get 6 is equal to 3x. The 6 is canceled. Again, this is a 2-step algebraic equation. I'm sorry, say that again. Say that again. So this is a 2-step algebraic equation. We need to add 6 to both sides. And then in order to get x by itself, we need to divide both sides by 3. We get x is equal to 2. So A, X is not 2, so it can't be A. B, X is not 2, it can't be B. C, X is not 2, it can't be C. The only option is what?
D.
D. You don't, in this case, we don't have to solve for Y. We just solved for 1. We got X, and none of these options had 2 as X, except D. So you don't have to solve for Y in this case. You can move on to the next question. So this is how you would solve this system of equations. So I wish they had a, okay, here's multiple choice here. Let me see. Oops, somebody just must have logged out. Here we go. Let's look at number 9, because it's the only one I really see that we can really see we got multiple choice. Sam scored 80% on part A of a math test and 92% on part B of the math test. His total mark on the test was 63. The total possible marks for the test was 65. Which system of equations represents this situation? What? What? How would we even do that problem? Which ones can we get rid of right away? Does anybody know? How would we set this up? First of all, what are my variables?
You get rid of B and D, right? Because they're decimals.
B and D. Okay, I see. Why would you say get rid of B and D because they're decimals? What is 80%?
Oh, okay. I guess that's what I get rid of.
So that's the question you have to understand.
Oh,
You
that's
have
right.
to know that
Same.
80% is 0.80. You have to understand that the decimal equivalent of 92% is 0.92. So right away, A and C can't be it, because you're
Right.
not multiplying by 80 or 92, you're multiplying by 80% and 92%, which is 0.8 and 0.92. So right away, A and B are out of the way. So when T asked earlier, how could we we would guess, well, right away, even if I don't know how to do this problem, you should know 80% and 92% as decimals is 0.8 and 0.92, so we can get rid of A and C. The second thing we want to look at is the second part. What do we know? So 80% of part A, 92% of point B. So that's 0.8 times A, 0.92 times B. Both of them have that in B and D, 0.8 times A, 0.9 times D. But his total mark was 63, so it must be equal to 63. That's that equation there. The second equation is the total possible marks of the test was 75. So the test A plus the B must equal to 75. So then ask you to solve this system of equation. They just want you to set it up. But again, you have to be able to eliminate some of your choices. Now, again, you're only going to have 1 or 2 system of equations. They're usually going to give you a word problem. I wish I had a nice word problem. I had a practice one that somebody sent me, but I don't have it open. Let me see if I can find one really, really quick. I don't see one. Because most of system of equations, when you get to college algebra, are usually word problems. Almost all of them. They don't. Okay, let me make this is what I'm gonna do. Let me see if I can I'm gonna make up multiple choice real fast. I'm gonna make up one. I'm gonna make them up real fast. Hold on. I just saw a hamburger one. Where is it? Is that it? Hamburger? Yes. Let's see if I can make it up real quick. Let's see if I can make one up real quick. So let me grab my calculator real quick. Take it off screen. So I'm just gonna make these up real quick. So A, burger, is $5. Fries. $1.50. B. Burger. $6. Oh no, not 75. Why they put 75 cent? Why they put 75 cent? How can they make it easy for me? Let me do 25. So let's do fries. $1.25. Okay, and then let me do C. Let's see. I don't even have a pencil and paper. I might have to do this problem real fast. Oh my goodness. I wish they had multiple choice. All right. So, all right, we'll just do it. We'll just do it. We'll just solve it. I'm sorry I didn't have, I'll have one ready for you. So let's look at this. At Freddy's, 3 steak burgers and 2 orders of fries cost $18. 2 steak burgers and 3 orders of fries cost $15.75. What's the cost of 1 steak burger? What is the cost of 1 order of fries? What should be my variables in this question? What should be my variables in this question?
Burgers and fries.
Burgers and fries. So what variable is going to be burgers?
X.
Okay, X is burgers.
Y is fries.
Y is fries. So basically what you're going to do is everywhere you see burgers and fries in there, you're going to put a variable. So instead of steak burgers here, we got 3X, 2Y. 2 steak burgers, so 2X, 3Y. So what's going to be my first equation?
Should be 3X plus 2Y equals 18.
Equal 18. That's my first equation. So first step, identify your variables. Okay. My second equation is going to be what?
2X plus 3Y equals 1575.
Oh my goodness, they made this all difficult. I'm gonna do this one for you. You're never gonna get anything this hard on GED, but I'm gonna show you how to do it. This is a little bit more difficult because the GED usually has the same term, the opposite term, or you got to multiply one of the equations by a whole number. In this case, the problem here is we have to multiply both equations by different numbers. So what we're going to do is find the least common multiple. So 2, 4, 6, 3, 6. So the lowest number both of them go into is 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this equation by 3. And we're going to multiply this equation by -2. The reason why is because the opposite of 6x is -6x. So we got to multiply this. You never get something this hard, but I just want to show you how to do it. So -6x minus 4y equal -36. And we bring this along, 6x plus 9y equal, what's 1575 times 3? So we got 45. And then 75 times 3 is 225. We add both of those up and we get 45 into 4725. So now we combine, let me change my color back to red. We combine both the equations, the 6x cancel, we get 5y. We're going to subtract 36 from 4725, we get 1125. And divide both sides by 5. This is more of a college level system of equations or a senior or 11th or 12th grade system of equations problem, but you won't get something this hard in the GED. So Y is 225. So Y stands for what? Our fries. So our fries were 225. Let's plug it into the first equation. So we get 3x. Now let's plug into the second equation. 2x, let me change my color. 2x plus 3 times 225 equal 1575. We get 2x plus 675 equal 1575. Subtract 675 from both sides. So even though it contains decimal, it doesn't matter. It's still the same algebraic steps. 2x, the 675s cancel, equal $9. 15 minus 6 is 9. And then divide both sides by 2. So we get x is 450. So the hamburgers are going to cost you $4.50, and the fries are going to cost you $2.25. Now, this is a more difficult problem. You will hardly ever see anything this difficult on the GED, but this is what's expected to be able to solve a system of equations in college or a training program. So if your goal is to go to college, you want to make sure you can solve a system of equations. In the GED, what they would do is this. I should have kept those other two up. So 225 and 450. Let me see if I can undo real quick. Let me see if I can undo real quick 450 and 225. Let me see if I can undo. Let me see how much I can undo. Because what I wanted to show you was, I'm going to show you an example what you would see on the GED. And this is where you don't want to spend too much time on a problem. If you see a problem like this, this problem with this difficulty would take you 5 to 7 minutes, 8 minutes. Okay. So on this one, I would select the answer and then I would flag it for review. But let me put 4 multiple choice in, and let's see what we get. Hopefully those 2 will come back up that I already used already. Hopefully. I think it's right after this. Let's see. There we go. So C was burgers was $4.50 and the fries $2.25. And then D, the burgers were $4, 4 times 12, and the fries are $3. So say these were the multiple choice. So A, the burgers are $5, the fries are $1.50. Option B, the burgers are $6, the fries are $1.25. Option C, the burgers are $4.50, the fries are $2.25. Option D, the burgers are $4 and the fries are $3. So what I want to show you is this is what you have to be ready for. So here, I want to show you something. This first equation was 3x plus 2y equal 18, correct? So let's plug those numbers in and see what we get. Let's see if it satisfies the first equation. Watch this. So the first one, x is 5, 5 store x, $1.50 store y. And we plug it in. 3x plus 2y, we should get 18. Did we get 18? So it worked for the first equation, right? Let's try for the second option. 6 store x, $1.25 store y. And let's plug it into the first equation. 20.5. We know that's incorrect because it need to be equal to 18. 450 store x, 225 store y. Let's go up to the first equation and let's see if we get 18. We do. So option A worked. Option C worked. Let's go with D now. 4 store x, 3 store y. Let's plug into our first equation and let's see if we get 18. Wow. So option D worked. Remember what a system of equation means. It means that your X and Y values will satisfy both equations. So you got to remember, you have to plug it in to both equations. So now I showed you that those options actually worked for 3 of our multiple choice. But what you have to realize, is, let me get that second equation, is that it must work for both equations. So 2x plus 3y equal 1575. So when you get that multiple choice on your GED exam, you need to store your X and your Y. So my X is $5. My fries is $1.50. That's going to be my second variable. And I'm going to use my first equation. Well, we already showed you that it worked for the first equation. Let's plug into our second one. 2x plus 3y. If that works, we should get 1575. Do we get 1575? So it's not A. We got 14.
No,
We
I
got
don't want to pull out.
1450.
The mic is on.
Let's go to the second one. X is 450. Y is 225. Let's plug in our second equation, 2x plus 3y. And let's see if we get 1575. C is now the answer. So what I want you to realize is this. They give you a system of equations and they give you the answers in the multiple choice. Plug them into both equations. And then you don't have to do all the algebraic work. You just have to identify the 2 equations, and then you plug those numbers in to those 2 equations until you satisfy both equations. Okay, but I also want you to remember is that system of equations may only be 1 or 2 problems. Okay, and they're considered difficult. So they expect for you to spend 5 to 6 minutes on each one of those. So my first instinct, or the first advice I would give you, that if you're not as versed as solving system of equations, pick an answer, skip it, flag it for review. Come back to it when you finish your exam. Okay, so now if you're using the eBook or using Schoology for system of equations, especially eBook, I'll show you all the different ways that I just showed you tonight by solving a system of equations. So you can plug those values in to each of those equations. So, but you have to identify your variables first. This will be how to solve this system of equations. And you're going to get 1-word problem with a system of equations, and usually they're going to give you a computation, something you have to solve right away. Should be fairly easy, but the word problem is usually more difficult. They're usually going to give you 2 problems for system of equations. You have to be ready for both of them. So we did system of equations. Let me see. We did a word problem. I'll send this sheet also. A quick way to be able to solve them using either substitution. I don't like substitution. I like elimination better. And this sheet only shows you graphing and substitution. I actually like elimination better. Substitution can get difficult, depending upon the system of equations. It can be more difficult. I like elimination, where you eliminate one of the variables. If you use the process of elimination, you can solve any system of equations problem. You can also solve by graphing. Let me see if I got a graphing problem. So if you want to solve a system of equation by graphing, slope is 2, y-intercept is 3. For the second equation, slope is -4, y-intercept is -3. So I'm going to use the black. I use the black for the first line. My y-intercept is 3, so I'm going to go right here. My slope is 2, so I'm going to go up 2 over 1. And that would be my line. Oops. That would be my line for the first graph. This is how fast you should be able to graph a line in slope-intercept form. Now in blue, my y-intercept is -3. So my first point is going to be the y-intercept, which is -3. My slope is -4. So remember, -4 could be -4 over 1 or 4 over -1. So in this case, if you notice, we can't go down 4. So we're going to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the left 1. And I don't like that one at all either, because it didn't work out lovely like I thought it was going to work out. Nope. There we go, right there. There it is. Oops. Let me do it. Let me move this here. Now, yeah, I don't like this one at all. I don't like this one at all. So they wanted so I'm off a little. I'm off a little. I don't like that one at all. Let me see if I can find an easy one. I don't like any of these. It should have made it much easier. Let me try this one here real quick. Slope is -1 over 4. Is -4. Let me see if I can grab this one real quick. And you probably won't have to do this if you're thinking about going on to college later. You need to know these. Know how to solve a system of equations. Because I'm not exact, it's going to give me some problems. So -4, and then down 1 over 4, down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be a tough one too. And then this is going to be a tough one too. I don't like either one of these. They should have made them a little easier to solve on a graph. And then let me use the red, the +2 as my y-intercept. Then my slope is 5 over 4. So we can't go up 5, so we're going to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one worked out good. This one worked out good. So the solution to this system of equations. So if you notice, I took the first equation, identified the slope as -1 over 4, because y equals mx plus b. I identified my y-intercept as -4. My second equation, I identified my slope as 5/4. I identified my y-intercept as +2. So the first equation, I used the blue line, so my y-intercept is -4. And then my slope is -1 over 4. So I went down 1 and then over 4 to get my second point. And I then connected those 2 points to make the line. The second equation, my y-intercept is 2. So that's my first point. So one thing you want to notice is my slope was 5 over 4, but I couldn't go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would have been off my graph. So what you have to realize that 5 over 4 is the same as -5 over -4, because 2 negatives also make a positive. So I went down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over to the left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So where these two lines cross will be the solution for this system of equations. So my x is -4, my y is -3. So that's how you would solve this system of equation, by graphing. Now here, you had to graph the two equations first. On the GED, they'll probably give you the two equations. You just have to realize where they cross is the solution for that system of equations here, and this is what they expect you in a high school level or college level system of equations, where you have to graph them and then solve the system of equations. So you have to graph both lines first and then see where both lines cross. Okay, so that was a good example. That second one is because I couldn't be as accurate because I didn't have the tool, but this example worked out a little bit better. All right, so that's system of equations. Any other questions before we leave tonight? On anything you had problems with during the week? Oh, I know what somebody had problems with real quick. And again, let's use a variable that they have already. Let's use number 8. Number 8. To me, with number 8, okay, when you got to substitute a value, so C equal 21. So minus 3 plus C over 7 plus 5C. So everywhere you see C, you're going to put 21. So minus 3 plus 21 over 7 plus 5 times 21. Minus 3 plus 3 plus 105. So the 3's cancel. Your answer here is 105. What I'm saying to you is, if you know how to store a variable in your calculator, anytime you have to evaluate a problem on the GED, it should take you less than 15 seconds. So let me make this a little bit smaller. So what you should be able to do is say C is 21. 21, store C. And then enter the expression exactly the way you see it. Minus 3 plus C over 7 plus 5C. If you can do that, that's 3 to 4 problems on your exam right there. If you know how to store a variable using this calculator and how to enter an expression, that's 3 to 4 problems on your exam right there. That's simple technique using the TI-30XS. Again, you're gonna have to evaluate an algebraic expression and you're gonna have to evaluate a function. So you're gonna have 3 to 4 problems where you have to evaluate either algebraic expression or a function and learn how to do it on the calculator. Let me maximize this so you can see how I did it. But that's 3 to 4 questions. Okay. So I know somebody asked me that system of equations, and I believe that was it for tonight. Again, there's only going to be 1 or 2 system of equations. Now, evaluating algebraic expression or evaluating the functions, 3 to 4 problems. So what we did tonight is about 6 problems on your exam. So evaluating algebraic expression, evaluating the function, and solving a system of equations will be anywhere from 3 to about 6 problems on your exam. Got to be ready for both of those. Any questions? Let's see if
No, sir.
Can you give us an example of function?
okay, so an example of a function would be something like this.
That's what I was learning too.
Okay, let me see. Study guide. Let me see. Study guide. Come on. There we go, right there. So let me just give you an example of how to evaluate a function. Now, again, you're going to get one in the word problem, and you're probably going to get one as a computation. So here, evaluating functions. So they can give it to, they can show you different ways. So how they usually denote a function is f of x, g of x, or h of x. This term in the middle, this x, tells you the variable. That's the input. So when you see f of x is equal to x squared minus 3x, that's the expression. when you see F in parentheses and you see a number there, what this is telling you is that X is -8. So all you're going to do with your calculator to evaluate a function, again, they're going to, the two things you're going to do for a function, if it's a valid or not, or evaluate it. They're going to give you the function. They're going to say f of x equal, g of x equal, h of x equal. They might say g of t, it doesn't matter. This one right here tells you x is your input. This notation here tells you x is -8. So to do this problem, all you would do is say -8 store x, and then put this expression in. X squared minus 3x, 88. Now, if you were doing it by hand, x squared minus 3x. So everywhere you see x, you're going to put a -8. This is where people make the mistake. -8 squared minus 3 times -8. -64 plus 24 minus 40. I thought we got 88, Mr. Tinsley. Why? Is because -8 is x. So what you have to do is this has to be in parentheses. -8 squared is a positive 64. And then 64 plus 24 is 88. This is why when they have you evaluate an algebraic expression or evaluate a function, x a lot of the time is a negative number, or your expression will have a negative expression in there, just to see if you know what happens when you square a negative number. It doesn't stay negative, it becomes positive. So it's best to use your calculator, because then you don't have to worry about any mistakes. Watch this. Look at this. This is another way they could say it. F of x equals 3x squared plus 4. When x is -3, they're telling you what x is. -3 store x. Plug in your expression. 3x squared plus 4. Done. 15 seconds, 31. Option C. Guaranteed you're going to have a problem like that. We have to evaluate a function. They're either going to say the word function, or they're going to say f of x, g of x, or h of x. That's going to give you the clue that this is a function. So if they ask you if something's a function, that's one thing they can ask you, or they're going to ask you to evaluate it. Again, guaranteed problem on your exam. They always have. Now, here, this is the only other thing they're going to ask you for a function. Is something a function or not? Okay, how do you know if something is a function or not? This is the rule you must remember. For every x, there is only one y. So if you look at these, this has the same x, different y's, not a function. Same x's, different y's, not a function. Same x's, different y's, not a function. We have all different x's. You can have the same y's. For every x, there's only one y. This is the only one that's a function. Guaranteed question in your exam. They can ask you as a graph. They can ask you as a points. They can ask you with a table. If you see the word function, either going to evaluate it, or if it's a valid function or not. Watch those two videos that I have on my YouTube channel if you didn't get it all tonight, because that's another guaranteed problems on your exam. They always have you evaluate a function. They always check to make sure you know what a valid function is. Always. It's on every single GED exam, every single practice test, every single one. So make sure you know how to do that. Again, evaluating the algebraic expression or evaluating the function. With the TI-30XS, it's a 15 to 20 second problem. So make sure you know, make sure you go over that in your ebook and you practice. This is easy. For every x, there's only one y. Okay, so you're looking down. When you look down, when they give you this table, okay, so a lot of times what they'll do is they'll give you a table. So they'll say 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just making these up. 6, 7, 8, 9. And they'll ask you what could be a value for X and a value for Y. And they'll give you a bunch of different ones. So they'll give you 2, 3, 4, 7, 9. What you have to realize is that for every X, there's only one Y. I already have a 2, I already have a 3, I already have a 4, I already have a 5. So that means this X cannot be 2, it can't be 3, it can't be 4. It can be 7 or 9. It doesn't matter which one, as long as your X's don't repeat. So I can put a 7 here and put a 9 here. I could put a 9 here and put a 7 here. As long as your X's do not repeat. For every X, there's only one Y. So your X's cannot repeat in the table. Okay? Guaranteed question. Guaranteed. Every single exam, every practice test, every GED exam, they always ask you 2 things about a function. Can you evaluate it, or if something's a function or not? So if you took the GED exam already, I guarantee you saw that problem. Or a problem like that. Not this exact problem, of course, but problems like this. All right, any questions before we leave? I kind of really went over the night, 7:30. Sorry about that. Got a little carried away.
Thank you, though.
You okay?
Yeah, I got that.
All right, so make sure you practice tonight, evaluating functions, evaluating algebraic expressions, because you're definitely that's definitely 2 to 3, 4 problems on your exam, definitely. System of equations, usually only 1 or 2. Any other questions?
Mr. Tinsley,
Yes.
I need the code.
Okay, I'll look it up for you. I'll get it. Stay on.